our perceived threat. Okay, I got to click on something here. It's in the way. Perceived threat to the symbolic self. And okay, now why won't you go next here? There you go. Remember, I said that symbolic self is the person we want to be and be seen as by others. Now, and that threat to the symbolic self gets treated the same as a threat to life and limb. Now, when I was a kid, they used to always teach us to say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, today we tell kids words hurt. Well, my question is, which is true? And the answer is the first one, because words are really just an event in this formula. And it's really what we think about others and what they say and do that really determines whether we feel hurt or not. And one clear example of that when I was a kid, I remember so vividly as a child, seeing other kids say, I know you are, but what am I, when someone would call them a name. And as long as they kept saying, I know you are, but what am I, they were invincible and felt powerful and in control. But the minute they started thinking, how dare, or saying out loud, how dare you say that about me, or you can't say that about me, that's when the hurt and anger came in. It's because of what they thought about what was happening, not what somebody was saying or doing. So a more semantically precise or scientifically precise way of talking about this would be, sometimes, because of what we choose to think about others and what they say or do, we understandably make ourselves feel what we call hurt. Now, I would encourage anyone to get what I call a black belt in mental and emotional karate and help others get one. Now, mental and emotional karate means learning and teaching people to defend themselves mentally and emotionally against verbal and cyber attacks, the way we teach some to defend themselves against physical attacks in real karate classes. Now, there's a couple quotes that I use in teaching this. One is from Eleanor Roosevelt: no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. The other one is from Viktor Frankl, who said everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. The short version is your last freedom is your attitude. Now, this is what I would call having a black belt in mental and emotional karate, where this could be your automatic response to some attack. You could say, you can think, feel, say, or do whatever you want to about me. That's your choice. But it's my choice how I look at and feel about myself and what I do or who I am. And you don't get to make those choices for me, unless, of course, I let you, and I choose not to. That's what I would call having a black belt in mental and emotional karate. Now, the next thing I would urge people to do is learn to remind yourself of what you do and don't control, and focus on and work with what you do control instead of what you don't. I used to draw what I call a circle of conflict on the board. And I'd draw a circle and split it into you and them, and then write the formula twice around there so that whatever someone else says or does is an event for us. And then we generate thoughts about that, perhaps some feelings and maybe some behavior. We say or do something back, and that becomes a new event for them, and they do the same thing. And this can escalate real quickly. But when you look at this diagram, I've always asked my students, which half of the circle do we have control over? And I've never had anybody get it wrong. Now, many people think, talk, and act as if they can control what others think, feel, say, or do, but we only control what we think, feel, say, or do. And for most people, that's a big enough job to learn to do that. Now, most people spend too much time and energy trying to control things they can't, like what others think, feel, say, or do, too little time and energy trying to control what they can, which is what they think, feel, say, or do. Now, the more you try to control things you can't, the more out of control your life will feel, the more anger, anxiety, and depression you'll struggle with. The more you focus on and work with what you do control, the more in control you'll feel. And there's actually, you may be familiar with the Serenity Prayer or poem, where it says, grant me the courage to change things I can, the serenity to accept the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, when others perceive us as trying to control what they think, feel, say, or do, it naturally triggers an innate tendency to rebel, resist, or even do the opposite, even if it makes no sense to do that. So one of the things you can do is a technique called taking the wind out of their sails. So they get all puffed up like they're ready to fight with you over something. And you say, look, you can say and do whatever you want to. No one can stop you. No one can make you think, feel, say, or do anything. It's your choice. The only person I control is me, and I can't and don't want to control anyone else. Now, the next thing is to learn to not take unnecessary responsibility for how others make themselves feel. Now, because if you take unnecessary responsibility for how others make themselves feel, it can make it more difficult for you to negotiate on your own behalf and make the healthiest choice. And some others may use it against you to manipulate you. And the way to reason through this is anything that we say or do is an event for others. They have the same choices we have. So therefore, it's their choice how they want to feel. No one upsets them, they upset themselves. Now, we are responsible for what we say and do, but not necessarily for how others make themselves feel about such things. They can upset themselves as little or as much as they want to. Now, I don't want someone to go around thinking I don't care how they feel, because that's a little too little. On the other hand, I don't want them saying it's my fault they feel that way. That's too much. So the just right to me would be the way they feel is understandable, but it is their choice how they want to feel. No one upsets them, they upset themselves. Now, the next thing is to recognize and appreciate the important role of emotion plays in your and others' everyday lives and help others see that. Now, I like to hyphenate the word emotion and call it energy to move. And it's energy to move to help us deal with threats and get what we want and need. Now, I've created or developed what I call a think, feel, do thermostat. And there's a lot of ways to objectively measure the amount of energy or heat in the air, but we also use terms like cool, warm, and hot. So we can do the same thing with emotion. We can have calm or indifference, we can have frustration, irritation, or annoyance, and we can have anger. We also always want to look at frequency, intensity, and duration of any emotion. So we can add that into this. So you can have a low or high frequency, intensity, and duration of calm and indifference, frustration, irritation, and annoyance, or anger. And this is how it fits together. As the threat goes up, you go from being calm to having frustration, irritation, annoyance, or concern, and then to having anger and anxiety as the threat becomes greater. Now, and if you put the whole thing together, this is kind of what it would look like, the whole feel thermostat model. Now, and one of the things I said earlier is a person's behavior will tend to follow his or her emotions toward his or her life events. So we can add something to the end of this chart, and that's the do part. So when you have frustration, irritation, annoyance, concern, regret, remorse, sadness, and so forth, you're more like you have some energy to move, but not so much that it causes you to react. But once your thermostat goes up to anger, anxiety, shame, guilt, depression, and a high frequency, intensity, and duration of loneliness, you're more likely to react or overreact to a situation. Now, we all have what's called a fight or flight response. Sometimes they add the word freeze to that. Like so many other things about being human, it's a double-edged sword. It's helped our species survive and thrive and save lives over the course of human history. But it's also caused a lot of needless conflict, injury, suffering, and death. Now, it may be hard to think of depression, shame, guilt, and loneliness as energy to move, but they have the same effect on behavior as anger and anxiety, meaning that if you have simply regret, remorse, sadness, or loneliness, you might reach out to others, talk to others, get help. But on the other hand, if you turn your thermostat up to shame, guilt, depression, and high frequency, intensity, and duration of loneliness, you're more likely to do something like get drunk, abuse drugs, or even attempt suicide, which would be a way of reacting to life instead of responding to it in the best possible way. Now, I like to hyphenate the word responsible too, because it means able to respond in the best possible way. And responsibility means the ability to respond in the best possible way. And we all at times generate what I call a dysfunctional amount of emotion. And by that, I mean more than is necessary or helpful, more than we want to have, more than we know what to do with, and a type and frequency, intensity, and duration that works against us instead of for us as emotion is intended to. Now, and a dysfunctional amount of emotion makes people more reactive and less response able. Now, and that's important because one of my favorite rules as a teacher was there's two ways to make something you don't like worse: do nothing and overreact to it. And people too often do the latter. Now, I used to tell my students anger, anxiety, depression, shame, and guilt, and loneliness can make otherwise smart, well-informed people do stupid things. Now, one of the quotes I was taught in my REBT training was from Tao philosophy, and its advice is stupid because fools won't use it and wise men already know it. One of the problems we have as health educators is we pass all those helpful information and advice, and people still do things that are unhealthy. And the reason is because people need to be in the right mental and emotional place to make the best choices. And too often they're not and don't know how to get there. And we've never done enough to teach them how to get there and still don't. Now, one of the basic psychological principles you'll get in the first psychology class you ever take is that people start and continue to do things because it serves a purpose. Well, a dysfunctional amount of emotion gives purpose to many unhealthy, self-defeating, destructive, or even violent behaviors. For example, smoking, drinking, using drugs, dropping out, or suicide. Now, we also are more likely to have what we call mistaken goals when we generate a dysfunctional amount of emotion. Mistaken means you get something out of what you do, it serves some purpose in your life, but it makes getting what you really want more difficult in the long run. Now, so one of the things I think it's important for people to do, and I urge them to do, is start recognizing when you and others have mistaken goals. And it comes from a model developed by Rudolf Dreikurs. And he watched students misbehave in classrooms, and he said when they misbehave, they usually have one or more of four mistaken goals: attention, power and control, revenge, and avoidance of failure. And I added one extra one to Dreikurs' model. I added withdrawal, avoidance, relief, because so many times people will do things to withdraw from some unpleasantness, to avoid it, or get relief from the emotion that goes with it. Now, and these tend to go, the feelings and mistaken goals tend to go hand in hand. For example, if you're lonely, you're more likely to have the mistake and have a high frequency, intensity, duration, you're more likely to have the mistaken goal of attention. If you have anger and high frequency, intensity, and duration, that you're more likely to engage or adopt the mistaken goal of power, control, revenge. Anxiety and shame tends to bring about the mistaken goal of avoidance or failure, and withdrawal, avoidance, relief tends to come from people having anxiety, shame, guilt, depression, or loneliness. Now, I think it's important to talk about power and control because power and control are big issues for most people, especially young people. Now, when people have the mistaken goals, they often give away power and control over their own lives without realizing it. One of the ways they do that is to give it away to things like tobacco, alcohol, or drugs when they become addicted. They also give other people openings or opportunities to do things to them that those people otherwise would not have, and things that they can't do anything to stop or prevent. Now, when you have the mistaken goal of revenge, they often end up hurting themselves more than anyone else. When I was a kid, I used to always hear my grandparents say, "You're cutting off your nose to spite your face." Now, and I like to teach a Chinese proverb that says, "A man who seeks vengeance should dig two graves, one for himself and one for the enemy he seeks to destroy." Now, so one of the things that I would encourage anyone to do next is strive to get better instead of just temporarily feeling better. By that, I mean to generate a more functional amount of emotion, to become more response able and help others do the same. Now, Dr. Ellis used to make a distinction between getting better versus feeling better. Getting better means permanently reducing the frequency, intensity, and duration of troublesome emotions like anger, anxiety, depression, and so forth. Now, there are a lot of ways to temporarily feel better. Some are healthy, like yoga, meditation, exercise. Many are not, like smoking, drinking, using drugs. But the only way to really get better is to change the way you think. Now, the next thing I think it's important for people to do is recognize that the ultimate problem is that people too often imagine threats where they don't exist or magnify ones that do out of proportion to reality. And the work of Dr. Albert Ellis does a great job of showing us how they do that and how to stop doing it. Now, I want to mention a couple of things about anger and anxiety before moving on to the next topic. One is that anger represents a significant and real challenge. And anger is really like emotional nitroglycerin, and it's just as hard to handle as the real thing. Now, for that reason, I've always believed that anger management is a fool's errand. We should instead strive for anger prevention, to teach people how to not get angry in the first place. And I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. Now, the other reason anger is such a challenge is people like being angry because anger gives anyone a false sense of power, righteousness, permission, and protection. As long as they feel angry, they don't have to feel a lot of other feelings they don't like feeling. Now, the other thing I would urge or would say is to recognize what you're really dealing with when it comes to anxiety. This is something Dr. Ellis taught me many, many years ago. Anxiety is a figment of imagination, which means it's about things that could happen, but haven't happened yet, often never do. And one way to define an anxiety disorder is that people spend too much time in their imagination and too much time in the future tense. So there's a very simple strategy to deal with anxiety. I use this all the time, and I encourage my wife to as well. And that's to simply say that might happen, but it hasn't happened yet. And if it does, I'll deal with it, just like others have, just like I have other things in the past. And it's surprising how well that works. If that becomes your automatic response to something you don't like, something you're worried about, it really does short circuit the anxiety. Now, the next thing is to recognize when you and others engage in irrational thinking. And I like to call these cognitive missteps. Now, Dr. Ellis identified 4 basic and simple types of irrational thinking, called 1, demandingness, 2nd was awfulizing, 3rd was can't stand it-itis, and the 4th was label and damning. So we can set up a think thermostat the same way we set up a feel and do thermostat. And basically, there's 3 basic ways you could look at something. You could not care about it, sort of not care, or really not care. You could want it, sort of want it, or really want it. And you could think you need it, sort of need it, or really need it. And the cognitive missteps, according to Dr. Ellis, is people start to think they need things they simply want, start to treat simple preferences as necessities, and start to demand what they simply desire. Now, so they basically turn their think thermostat from want, preference, and desire up to need, necessity, and demand. Now, Dr. Ellis used to talk about a perceived need, which means someone thinks they need something, but it's not like air, water, or food. It's nice to have, but they can live without it. They're not going to die if they don't get it. Now, I taught my students 5 rules. Rule number 1 was you have a right to want whatever you want. Rule number 2 was the bigger the difference between your expectations and reality, the more emotion you'll generate, because the bigger the difference between your expectation and reality, the greater the threat is. Remember I said earlier that Shakespeare reportedly said expectations are the root of all heartache. Now, so if you don't care about something and then you didn't get it or lost it or simply imagine doing either, there's little or no threat. But once you start to want, prefer, desire something, then if you don't get it, lose it, or simply imagine doing either, you end up with a certain amount of threat. But if you turn your think thermostat up to need, necessity, and demand, the threat becomes much bigger. And what happens is by turning your think thermostat up to need, necessity, and demand, you predispose yourself to have anger instead of frustration, irritation, and annoyance, anxiety instead of concern, depression instead of sadness, shame instead of regret, and guilt instead of remorse, and a much higher frequency, intensity, and duration of loneliness, and you're more likely to react or overreact instead of respond to a situation. Now, I want to mention loneliness just for a second here. Loneliness is not caused by being alone. Being alone is just an event in our formula. It's what you think about being alone that actually causes loneliness or doesn't. For example, if I don't care whether I'm with my wife or not, and she's not there, I don't feel lonely. If I want, prefer, desire for her to be with me and she can't be, or threatens to leave me, for example, that's a certain amount of threat that goes with that. And I'd probably experience a medium frequency, intensity, and duration of loneliness. But when I turn my thermostat up to need, necessity, and demand, now the thought of her not being with me or not leaving me, it creates much bigger threat and much more loneliness. Now, people will even elevate their wants, preferences, and desires to the same level as air, water, and food in their minds. Why that's important is because that makes not getting what they want or losing it seem like suffocating, dying of thirst, or hunger. Now, rule number 3 is behavior intended to satisfy a perceived need will tend to win out over behavior intended to satisfy a rational preference. And a simple example would be a person wants to quit smoking. That's a rational preference for a lot of reasons. But he thinks and tells himself, I need a cigarette. I can't go all day without one. That's a perceived need. Now, the question I would ask is, what are the odds he'll quit if he looks at things that way? Now, rule number 4 is when people start to think they need things they simply want, it can make otherwise smart people do stupid things. And the way I explain this is if you were suffocating, perhaps drowning, let's say, what would you be willing to do to get air? And the answer, of course, would be anything. But if someone starts to think they need love or any number of other things, like they need air or possibly water or food, what might they be willing to get it or keep it? And the answer is the same thing, anything. And that's what can make otherwise smart people do stupid things. Now, the next thing I think is important to learn to do is learn how to correct irrational thinking in yourself and tactfully challenge it in others. Now, so one of the questions I pose is, what do we really need? Do we need love, attention, approval, acceptance, sex, or a boyfriend or girlfriend? Now, one of the things you run into, of course, is that just about everybody gets taught at one point or another in their life, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you'll have people say, well, Maslow called them all needs. Well, he did, but also remember that he created different levels. Love and belonging is not on the same level as air, water, and food. Now, the other thing you have is popular music. People memorize and sing songs, and it literally brainwashes people into a certain perspective or way of looking at things. For example, All You Need Is Love by the Beatles. Now, the way I challenge this idea of what you need is to say, we'll die in minutes, days, or weeks without air, water, and food, respectively. Do we need love, acceptance, approval, and other things like we need air, water, and food? Will we die if we don't get these other things? Do we need such things or just want, prefer, and desire them? Are they needs or just nice things to have? Now, the key point is you can set your thermostat wherever you want to, but there will be predictable emotional behavioral consequences for where we do set our thermostat. Now, talk about demands for a few minutes here. We can make demands of others, ourselves, and life. Now, and depending on where you make those demands determines which feeling you get. For example, anger often comes from making demands of others. It can come from making demands of life and self as well. Anxiety typically comes from making demands of self before an event. Shame and guilt tend to come from making demands of yourself afterwards. And anxiety can also come from making demands of life before an event, like this can't happen to me or everything has to go perfectly. Or depression also comes from making demands of life. Now, the essence of anger, which is something we talked about earlier, everyone has to do what I want, be the way I want them to be. Everything has to be the way I want it to be. That's basically what somebody who's getting angry, the demand they're making. My only question is, how old does that sound? And for that reason, we call anger a temper tantrum. Now, when people make demands of others, they often use verbs or verb phrases like have to, can, should, or shouldn't, as opposed to want, like, prefer, rather, wish, and appreciate. So the way we challenge these is very simple. Somebody says they have to do what I tell them to. Why do they have to? They have to, or you just want them to? Or they say they can't talk to me like that. Well, why can't they? They just did. Why they can't, or you just don't want them to? And basically what we're asking is, where do you want to set your think thermostat? Because where you set it, it's going to determine how you feel and ultimately what you end up doing. Now, my grandfather taught me this a long time ago. To the answer to that question, why did they have to? No one has to do anything except die and pay taxes. And he was half right. Now, a simple model for stress is when you listen, when people are really stressed out, if you listen to the way they construct their thoughts or comments, they'll use the phrase, I have to a lot, or I can't. And that creates a lot of anxiety, because when you tell yourself you have to do something, it's much scarier, it's a bigger threat if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to. Now, as opposed to saying I don't want, or I want to, or I don't want to. Now, and people can get into a vicious cycle of saying I have to before an event and creating anxiety, which will impair their performance. And then they'll end up shooting on themselves afterwards and creating shame or guilt, as opposed to simply saying I want to or don't want to before, and I wish I had or wish I hadn't afterwards. Now, and the simple way to challenge or question these is, somebody says I have to, why do you have to? You have to or just want to? Or if they say I can't, or I can't let something happen, why can't you? You can't or just don't want to. So where you really want to set your think thermostat to give yourself the best chance of succeeding is at the top of I want to or I don't want to. Now, the thing you want to do, I would encourage people to do next is practice and rehearse these questions until they become automatic. And what happens is these thoughts come to your mind the same way grammar check works on a computer. They just pop into your head. As soon as you say something that's irrational, these questions and challenges will check you. Now, demands often come in the form of a question as well. For example, how dare you? Or how could you? Okay. Now, unfortunately, the answer we teach people, the answer to that is easily. How could you talk to me like that? Easily. It doesn't take much effort or a lot of air to talk to somebody in a way they don't like. And I used to always teach my students, never ask a question for which you won't like the answer. And saying, how dare you is one of those questions. Now, Ellis used to jokingly talk about shitting on yourself, others, and life. Now, for example, depression can come from people making the demand of life that this shouldn't be happening to me. I shouldn't have to deal with this, versus sadness where they would be saying, I wish this wasn't happening to me, or I wish I didn't have to deal with this. Now, so Ellis used to, if you look at some of the old film clips of Ellis, he'd always jokingly tell somebody, stop shitting on yourself. And I had a colleague who had what she described as a nervous breakdown. She was hospitalized. When she came back, she talked to the rest of our staff. And I remember she was wearing a shirt that said, I'm not going to shit on myself today. And I used to always jokingly tell my students, shitting on yourself, others in life just makes you feel shitty. Now, the second kind of thinking Ellis identified was awfulizing. There are a lot of things in life that are unpleasant, inconvenient, and uncomfortable. The mistake people make is to turn their think thermostat up to awful, meaning it's like the worst possible thing that could be happening at this moment. And my grandfather used to call that making a mountain out of a molehill. Now, rule number 5, you have a right to like or dislike whatever you want to. The mistake people make is to turn their thermostat from don't like it up to I can't stand it. And doing that causes them to needlessly inflame themselves. And it's why Dr. Ellis called it I can't stand it itis. Itis is the suffix for inflammation. Now, variations of I can't stand it would be something like I hate it when, or I'll just die if. Now, so what basically happens is by turning your think thermostat up to need, necessity, and demand, that predisposes you to be more likely to look at something as being awful and tell yourself you can't stand it. The reason being simple. If you were suffocating or dying of dehydration or starvation, that would be awful, and you couldn't stand it. And the proof is that you die in minutes, days, or weeks. Now, as far as how to deal with this, one of my mentors was a guy named Mark Denny, who unfortunately recently passed away. And I always remember him saying, when someone is awfulizing, the last thing they need is someone agreeing with them. So what we do is we pose these simple questions. Is it awful or just unpleasant? Is it awful or just inconvenient? Is it awful or just uncomfortable? Now, you can set your think thermostat wherever you want to, but there will be predictable emotional behavioral consequences for what we do. Now, a simple strategy I use with my little granddaughter is just say every time little Rosie gets upset about something, I say, Rosie, big deal or little deal? And she's learning to say little deal, Grandpa. And as soon as she says that, she calms down. Now, as far as can't stand it itis, the question is simply, you can't stand it or just don't like it? Are you going to die or go crazy just because that happens? Now, so essentially, we're saying, where do you want to set your think thermostat? At awful or unpleasant, inconvenient, or uncomfortable? At can't stand it or don't like it? Now, hopefully you get to the point where people start to tell themselves it's not awful, it's just unpleasant, or maybe inconvenient or uncomfortable, or I can stand it, I just don't like it. Now, rule number 5, you have a right to like or dislike whatever you want to. The mistake people make is go from disliking someone's behavior, they turn their thermostat up to label and damning the person. And label and damning is basically what Ellis called blatant overgeneralization. It's like calling an apple bad just because it has a bruise, even though 90% of the apple or more is still perfectly fine. It's condemning the doer instead of the deed. Now, the questions we pose are, why are they, for example, stupid just because they did that? They're stupid or just did a stupid thing? A lot of smart people do stupid things. They're stupid or just did something you don't like. You have a right to not like what they did. That doesn't make them stupid. They're stupid or just a fallible human being like the rest of us. And hopefully the answers you arrive at, learn to respond with are, they're not stupid just because of that. They're not stupid, they just did a stupid thing. They're not an idiot, they just did something I didn't like. They're not a jerk, they just a fallible human being like the rest of us. Now, I want to mention at the very closing here, United States struggles with racism. It has for a long time. And we struggle with what to do about it. Well, what I believe is racism is blatant overgeneralization. And what I mean by that is, here's basically, if you use the apple metaphor, racism basically means somebody says that group has some bad apples, so therefore the whole group is bad. That's illogical. That person is part of that group, so he or she must be a bad apple. That's racism in a nutshell right there. Now, one of the things I think we need to do is address it as overgeneralization and challenge it. Now, I also believe that one of the reasons we never seem to get past it is because we all have these innate cognitive tendencies. One is to note and attend differences between us and others. And the reason that's important are survival strategies, because differences are more likely to represent threats than similarities. Now, the other one is to generalize or overgeneralize about our experience. For example, forget about racism, but let's say a woman was sexually assaulted by a man. Well, the mistake she would make is to start assuming that all men are a threat to her, rather than just that particular person. Now, so in a third innate cognitive tendencies, to imagine threats where they don't exist, and to magnify ones that might out of proportion to reality. Now, so what I think we need to do about racism is challenge the overgeneralization. Create as much cognitive dissonance as possible and hope they resolve it by modifying their beliefs. Now, and make people more aware of the innate cognitive tendencies that we all have and sometimes give rise to things like racism, or even in our country, we have a lot of political division. That's the same thing. It's basically blatant overgeneralization about liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, and we overgeneralize about each other. I think that's okay. That's the end of it. Now, I just want to mention a book I wrote called "Look, It's Your Choice How I Want to Feel," which I memorialized, put down in words, everything I've ever taught my students, which is way more detail than I've gone into here. And it's available on Amazon.com. And if for some reason you were trying to buy these for a class or something like that, I try to make them available to students and teachers at cost, which is only $3.15 US money. And if you have any questions, my email is naturesmasterpieces@yahoo.com. naturesmasterpieces@yahoo.com, because I love landscape photography as well. Well, that concludes my presentation. I hope you learned something, got something out of it. And if you have any questions, I guess I can try to answer them if I know how to do this. Hello? My screen just went blank. I'm not sure why. Anybody? So what should I do next?
Sir.
I'm sorry.
Khalid, sir.
I'm done. Yeah. What should I do next?
Sir, speaker on.
This is okay. Now is okay. It was a while. Mr. Ray Mathis. Hello. Hello,
Sir,
Mr. Ray.
Hello.
शायद speaker off हो गए sir.
Hello. Hello, Ray Mathis. So
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Saab. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Can you unmute, Ray Mathis? Can you unmute your audio? Switch on your audio and video both. I have to discuss something about you, and the participant might ask some few questions with you. So I'll translate. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, am I unmuted now?
Yeah, unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I didn't click anything. It just went mute by itself.
Automatically
should be
might happen
unmuted now.
sometimes. Unmuted,
Yeah.
and also you unmute, switch on your video as well. I don't see you now, so let me check you. Yeah, I can see you. Okay, good.
Good,
Excellent,
okay.
excellent. So let me ask you, we have 4 minutes. So participants, आपने किसी डॉक्टर से आप लोग कुछ पूछने से पूछिए. Then I will translate
Hello.
in English, no problem.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah,
Hello.
Unmute,
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Unmute करिए सबको. Oh yeah.
Hello.
Just a minute. Unmute करें
Hello.
ये. सबाई के unmute करें to attend questions.
Okay, I hear somebody saying
Hello.
hello. But, yeah.
Sir.
Hello. Yep.
Hello. Ask Corinne. Kiran, do you want to ask you something to Ray Mathis? Please ask.
Sir, I'm Kiran Mangas.
Yeah, you are.
I have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
How do you achieve interpersonal peace?
I'm
How
sorry.
do
Would
you
you say,
achieve
Interpersonal.
how do you interpersonal?
You mean feelings?
the voice is garbled. It's hard to understand what you're saying.
Okay. She wanted to know interpersonal feelings, I think. Right? How do you assess? Like this, Kiran?
No. How do
Then what?
you peace?
So noisy. It's
I'm really having trouble understanding what you're saying. Sorry.
Yeah.
How
just a
do you
moment.
have
Hi.
আপনারটা বোঝা যাচ্ছে না কিছুই। আপনি বাংলা বলেন, আমি দেখি ট্রান্সলেট করি।
Interpersonal,
ইন্টারপার্সোনাল
achieve interpersonal peace.
I'm having trouble understanding. Every time you speak, it's garbled.
Yeah, just wait. Let me check with this.
Could you maybe try typing it in the chat room? I could read what you're saying.
Yeah, write down in the chat box, please. If anyone want to know anything, please write down chat box. We will back to you.
And I think Matt Perlstein is gonna make the video available to you via Google Documents or something like that. He said he would handle that for me. So,
Chat box এ লেখেন তাহলে সুবিধা হবে। আর যারটা হয় তাপস আপনি আনমিউট করে দিয়ে।
okay, I'm looking in the chat. I don't see any questions. I see a lot of thank yous, which I appreciate.
কিন্তু
Okay.
ঘোষ আপনি কি জিজ্ঞেস করবেন কিছু?
Okay, coming soon, okay. Yep, there's Matt just posted on the chat. PowerPoint's coming soon, so it should be there.
Transfer PowerPoints to Matt. Matt will transfer to me. I will transfer to the organizer. No problem. Later.
Yep,
Or you can transfer now also, if possible.
okay. Anybody have any questions they want to write in the chat where I can read it?
Please, do you have any questions to write? Please write in the chat box. We will get back to you. Suppose the আমার মনে হয় কারোর কোনো কোশ্চেন নাই নাকি?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ স্যার হ্যাঁ
নাই।
I'm sorry if I can't understand. Part of it is
No.
I have a very hard time understanding when accents.
No
or something
problem.
like
I am
that.
here with you. Everybody is here for you. Especially I am the convener. I am the translator or something. So nothing. They ask. They don't have any questions. That they told that to give you the PPT. So you will transfer PPT to me or to the Matt. You will transfer to the organizer, or I will provide you after an hour my email ID, if possible now. Okay, so send to my email ID. I'll transfer to the organizer, or you can send to the messenger. You can send to my messenger. That will be easier to send to the organizer. So I
Good.
think that's
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Pardon? So yeah, many
থ্যাংক
many
ইউ স্যার
thanks.
থ্যাংক ইউ
Thank you, Ray Matthews, for your valuable thoughts and ideas shared with us. It's really,
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
that
Sure.
it will be helpful
Hope you
for
learned
all
something.
of us to learn something, of course. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
coming.
sir.
Listening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
More than welcome.
Very nice class. Thank you, sir.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I think I'm gonna, time for me to go to bed. It's
Thank
pretty
you,
late.
sir.
You're more than welcome.
Thanks, Ray Matthews, for your wonderful presentation and also your thoughts and ideas that you shared with us. That will be helpful to way forward our mission and vision in the days ahead.
আবার মাটি ড্যাশ
হ্যাঁ স্যার
আওয়াজটা একদম কমে গেছে, শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
হ্যাঁ আমি সবাইকে আনমিউট করে দিচ্ছি হ্যালো স্যার
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
আমাকে দেন আর সময় নষ্ট করে লাভ
হ্যাঁ
নাই।
আপনি একটু পরে mute করে দিন।
সবার
হ্যাঁ স্যার আপনার স্পিকারটা অন করেন স্যার হ্যাঁ স্যার আপনার স্পিকারটা অন করেন স্যার আপনার পোস্ট করা আছে স্যার
স্যার আপনারা এই যে ওকে নাও উইল পে নাও ইটস ওকে ইট ওয়াজ মিউটেড আর্লিয়ার নাও ইট ইজ আনমিউট। তো আমারটা দেন সবাইকে কিভাবে করবেন এখানে? সবাইকে রেখেন না, আমারকে রাখেন খালি।
হ্যাঁ
এটা কেমন হয়ে
হ্যাঁ
যায়?
স্যার খালি আপনারটা রাখছি খালি আর বাকিগুলো বন্ধ করে দিচ্ছি
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে। So today is our last session. We have added two speakers, resource person. They will also deliver their valuable lectures to share with us. And now again, this is my turn to be an opportunity to meet with you all. So it's a great opportunity to have. This is my turn. So good afternoon to everyone, every honored participants, and also I convey my sincere gratitude to Taposh Burman and his very special and extraordinary team who provided all of us to get in to such a international conference. I am Mohammad Khalid from Bangladesh. I've been working. Let me introduce. Actually, I have a lot to say, but I will few words which relate to your organizations. I am Mohammad Khalid. I've been working for more than 38 years at home and abroad in management field. After having my master's degree in psychology from Dhaka University, and later I did my PhD in clinical psychology from USA.
आपको मीटिंग में शो नहीं कर रहा है
ये करी ना पानी
I was
मीटिंग में अटेंड होते ही नहीं तो एब्सेंट
stop
होते
করেন না, please. Stop talking. So later I was awarded PhD in clinical psychology from USA. I was awarded lots of creditability for my outstanding performance, especially in a Japanese as a program coordinator in Bangladesh for a decade. I'm also management and training consultant, train management and other employees in the field of psychological aspects at home and abroad. I'm also practicing psychology since in the year 2000. Currently, I'm faculty of MBA and MBA program in a reputed university in Bangladesh, Dhaka, Bangladesh. During my professional tenure, I had and have an opportunity to visit USA, UK, France, Japan, Canada, UAE, Nepal, and of course in India as well. Today, I will share my thoughts and ideas with you relating to community-based rehabilitation implementation for people with disabilities. Thank you for your patience hearing. Let me share my PPT. একজন আমার সাথে কথা তাপস দা, ক্যান ইউ সি মাই স্লাইড? আমার স্লাইডটা কি দেখা যাচ্ছে?
দেখা যাচ্ছে স্যার স্যার দেখা যাচ্ছে
Fine. Okay, now no problem. So today I will share my thoughts and idea relating to community-based rehabilitation implementation for people with disabilities, mainly plan and programming. How to rehabilitate them in the community. Disability is not a anything that the normal. If you can format them in a proper way. Okay, let's discuss one by one. I'm Khalid from Bangladesh already, as I told to you. So community-based rehabilitation. Please keep one paper and pen or pencil to note down, because this is completely related. My task is completely related to your topics, main topics. Just a moment. Okay. So community-based rehabilitation, what is that? Actually, we understand community means some area, locality is community. Rehabilitation means how to provide them in the with other people, how to rehabilitate the disabled people to the normal society, to enjoy all the facilities, to enjoy the all that others do. Community-based rehabilitation is a community development strategy. It's a community development strategy that aims and PWD within their community. That is, it's a strategy to rehabilitate them in the PWD to rehabilitate in their community. That is the main focus. Important. Why it is important? Why you treat this as important in the current days? It becomes very important across the world. So we are looking for the community first, gradually community to the area to national and international. It will gradually increasing, day by day improving. So importance of CBR is that to ensure the negative attitude. Sometimes we have some negative attitude. Oh, she cannot speak or he cannot speak. He's disabled or intellectually disabled or something. Few might face still negative towards the people with disabilities. We cannot ignore this, but now we understood the reality. It happened a lot of things, genetical. Then, if I say I can input something from my practical knowledge during pregnancy. I'm not a doctor, I'm not even a medical, but anyway, I found a lot of disabled people to treat them, especially intellectually or this and that. What I found, parents should be very much cooperative. Parents, especially when when pregnant, the husband should talk very comfortable, very nicely, very enjoyable, make other than routine function. He has to give importance to our wife on a lovely food. Does not mean you need a lot of money. This is practical. So from my little knowledge, I shared this one because I found, say, father, mother, parents are quarreling each other all the time. This is not good food, this other. But mother is pregnant. So she will be in a stress. The genetic lot of causes, simple causes I'm talking, because I found these sort of things. I checked their parents. They have some problem due to their children are might be. So please treat it, especially for that period, all the time, especially for that period, treat them very special, the lighted food, vitamins, minerals, nutritionists. So you have to take care, you have to take them, keep them always, keep in touch with the doctors as and when necessary, any problem there, that is your generation. You will be benefited. You will get a good result for that. For 10 months period or 10 months, that will facilitate your whole generation apart. This might be one. The another is 23 genes from the 23 from the father, maybe mothers, if something that is a very medical sense because I have not that much idea to explain to you. But this is very common psychological and mentally mindfulness always. Oh, you are very good. Oh, you are happy. You are looking good. You just dressed up. We'll walk for we'll walk, go for morning walk. We'll have our lunch special today. We'll dinner today. What is your what is your choice to have dinner now? You ask to your wife. So she will say, she will be automatically in her sight some peace and happiness. May not laugh very loudly, but she will feel very comfortable, very what I say, অনেক তার আনন্দ ফিল করবে, জয় ফিল করবে, my husband take care of me during this period. That is the most important period because it is you will suffer in the long run if you don't do that one during that period. And the government will also, they will give 6 months leave. What? And you know, nowadays internationally, nationally also, the husband can take leave, maybe 1 month or 2 months or something, some labor law or employees law, practice law. For what? To take care of his wife. So always we think in that way, we'll rehabilitate things. No, we have to eliminate the negative attitude towards our spouse. People with disability and their families change. So I'll support your programs and the disabilities, many stream across all development sectors. Okay, that's a practical experience. Means as I found the people with disability, I check their parents are always quarreling. They mentally keep pressure to the wife. So always tension, negative thinking, always. So without any meaning. So go to the counselor, ask, what should I do? Think, this is you. Think opposite side of the table, whom you are talking. Especially I'm talking about it's not workplace that I will talk in different way. This is very important for the family generations. You think in that way. Husband, wife also take care of the husband in that time, not only one-sided, both. Then you see a beautiful children will be our next generations. And meet the doctors, meet the counselors. You don't need to go to the big counselor, just simple, those who are habituated, those who are practicing psychologists, not psychiatrists. I think because I have no idea. Medicine is not required. Just mentally, I feel always this and that. I have my wife has a son, maybe baby boy. So eliminate this. So anyway, so I think you understood this one. This is the reality. As I spoke from a little knowledge, and I found it. I tested it. I detected the problem also. These are couples. Next slide. Community-based rehabilitation. 5 components. What are those 5 components? If I'm going to rehabilitate someone, disabled people, what are those 5 components of CBR? 5 components. There might be a lot of components, but components. Key components. Key components, which is very much important for CBR. Health, education, livelihood, social and empowerment. Health, you understand health? He or she might be a disabled intellectually, speech, lot of things. Disability doesn't, somebody can find out that she or he is disabled, appears everything, but maybe hearing impairment, maybe mentally a bit negative thoughts, all these things. But so health is that is he or she needs some nutritious food, very cheap food in this across this subcontinent. Lot of foods, seasonal fruits, vitamin C, vitamin A, not vitamin A to 12, vitamin B complex, D. You just talk with the doctor, if natural or nutritionist, doesn't matter. Nowadays you can go and see the pharmacy. What are the medicine important for health, for your child, for your mentally, mental development, physical development, education. I'll discuss about this education. It's not easy to give them education. They are intellectually disabled, might be physically, might be autistic, lot of criteria maybe. So we have to handle in that way, proper appropriate way, not generalized, not for everybody. Same, we treat in a appropriate way what they need, your support. At home, somebody told Mosumi, maybe told about someone right home based. So of course, that what is possible, what will be possible on your part, do as much as treat them, bring them. Because last time I visited, maybe last Puja, 2-3 years before Puja holiday, I was in Tripura in a family. So they enjoyed some Brahmin family like that. I was there. Stayed in a hotel, but almost they from the residence I enjoyed the puja prayer. So one of them was autistic, but they told I'll bring my child. Of course, you bring all together one chair. What I say, that is wheelchair or something. That is a boy. So they brought to the tea garden others all together. So I was very happy. I took photo with them. But I found their, I don't know to mention, but I found their husband was, one of the reason I found they were not, husband was not caring to spouse. I found it. I found that the husband also, to the psychology department, she also expressed, sir, you know, this and that, this and that, this and that. Okay. So this is might be one of the criteria, one of the in focus, one of the focus, which is very easily we can handle. It's not very tough. Your problem, why you asking to your wife or spouse? This is your problem, how to handle your next generation, how she needs. Okay, health, education. So I think educations at home and home-based educations and schooling, especially school, they will arrange in that way. Not all together in the same. That is the special educators. They will suggest, they will provide proper, in a proper way, in a proper person. Even I say disabled, this disabled. What is disabled now? I don't like to speak in that way, but anyway, for the sake of this presentation, that is, I have no choice. We can put them in a normal, not 100%, but gradually we can put them. So livelihood in the society, in the community, bring them. Maybe they might be a wheelchair. They cannot hear, but they can see what is function others. So social and empowerment. And empowerment means if they get, so they have the vocational training. I'll go through later on. Later you will find that training and others. I think so. So empowerment. Empowerment, I mean, what that is possible on their part to do. Empowered. So anyway, next slide. Okay, this is a big slide. I think these include the importance of this is very important, involving key stakeholders at all levels of management cycle. Without a skill, without individual, we cannot do anything. So we have to key stakeholders at all levels of management cycle. For this CBR, we have to engage the stakeholders. Number one, performing a proper situation analysis before starting a CBR program. I started a program, but I didn't how to their outcomes, what will be the plan, what will be the outcome, data analysis, I mean, and we have to analyze that one before starting the CBR program. Making a solid investment in initial planning, ensuring that clear indication are developed. Just a moment, let me squeeze this one. Yes, clear indicators are solid investment. Means in initial planning, we need some money. So how to get the money, we'll discuss maybe later. So investment necessary for initial planning, ensuring that clear indicators are developed. Developing partnership with key stakeholders, of course, we have to make them partners, and ensuring there are clearly defined roles and responsibilities. Partnership with local government are essential. Not haphazardly will work. Stakeholder, they have some specific role, will manage, will structure, will prepare, will collect data analysis, will field work. So based on the need, you have to make a role and responsibilities. Initial and government with local government and essentials are essentials. Initiating activities that benefit the whole community, not just a few disabled people. Initiating activities that benefit the whole community, not just a few disabled people. Understand? So important to all of us. We think already disabled or something, we did it. No, whole community development, and that should be a sustainable development. Sustainable. That should be one day we did it for 1 month, then stop it. No, that should be sustainable growth, development. Recruiting CBR personnel from local communities. Definitely, because we are talking about the community base. So recruiting CBR personnel from local communities and giving preference to people with disabilities, particularly women. Of course, we have to take care, a special focus to the women, definitely, because from my point of view, women caregivers should be women, and should be supported by one of the family members as well. That should be, because they are intellectually disabled. They might not understand. They cannot discriminate what is bad and good. So recruit the CBR personnel from the local communities, okay? Ensuring that capacity building is an engaging process and inclusive of everyone. Example, people with disability, their families, community members, service providers, and local leaders or decision makers. What is ensure? We have to make ensure capacity building is an ongoing process. One day we cannot do anything. It is a continual process. Giving preference, whom I will give preference? To the, continuous process, and inclusive, everyone. We have to include everyone, like people with disabilities, their families, community members, service providers, and local leaders or decision makers. We need it to share their thoughts and ideas and make them responsible, a particular role and responsibility to particular individual, and recruitment maybe should be made within the locality. Hearing success and failure with others. Okay, the failure is the pillar of success. What is called this is a phrase. However, failure is like trial. So we have a next opportunity to succeed. We cannot go back. We go forward. So this was our why we failed. This was our problem. We will take care of it. Everything. In the family decision also, something might be face problem. So we have to find out what was our wrong. This is our wrong decision. That's why budget is short. So we have to manage in that way. Community level. So this is one example of Sthai Shikha Kendra, temporary education center. This is, you see, there is a different category of people here because he is with wheelchair. Somebody maybe know. So just this is example. You know very well. This is just a photograph, but this is also what you do. I have no idea about this your schooling, Tarai Doors Education Center. I have no idea about the college, but you have to put some photos. Good impressive. Not the only disabled people, you are studying, you are encouraging like this, photos everywhere, or the entrance of the gate, few places. So people encourage. Say if I go to visit, I will say see, not the building only, I will see the photograph, what is their achievement. And write down somebody, if somebody is SLC, I don't know about secondary education qualified in the, they are in their curriculum may be different. So just put there something, give them some award, something inspiration and aspiration and motivation is played a vital role to way forward everybody's case. Okay. Goal of community-based rehabilitation. Why it is important? Why is the goal? What is our goal? What is our destinations? Why we are doing these goals? What is our goal? We just started one day. We just started for a month. No, it's a continual process, development, continual process. It's a no destinations. There is no called super than genius than others. Okay. So what are those goals? Goals of CBR, advocating and creating awareness. It is, from my point of view, from my practical experience for the last 40 years at home and abroad in training program, in other events, as a special speaker, whatever the things, I found advocating and creating awareness for everybody, everyone, not for the severe, not for the disabilities, for everyone, awareness. Awareness is a continuous process. So 3 months, that's nowadays started refreshers course, means awareness course, refreshers course. Nowadays in all corporate management, school, college, they are awarding. Now the psychologists are being very important to the school psychology, not only school necessary, pure psychology, education psychology, they are now counselor, they are from the school may not able to provide them, but at least once in a day, once in a month, the students go and talk, or teachers, or teacher to teacher, the TOT, training of trainer, they will select 10 trainers, 10 teachers, then gradually they will go forward. So advocating, pre-vocational training. You know, the vocational training is a general for everybody, but for the disability, you have to the vocational. I cannot walk free. I cannot walk freely, but I have everything is fine. So I can do hand work, functional somewhat. So I can do the इसका हाथ से आप कुछ आर्ट करने सकेगा अच्छा अच्छा it will give a हाथ से खूब आप need some what I say বেতের কাজ করতে পারবো can work lot of things তারপরে ওটা কি বলে মাটি দিয়ে করে যেটা ওগুলো করতে অনেকগুলো কাজ করা যায় many work they can do কম্পিউটার থাকবে তাদের যদি বাকি সব ঠিক থাকে they'll be trained in computer এটা তো অনেক মাস্টার হয়ে যায় সবই তো ঠিক আছে আমার পা একটু ঠিক নাই doesn't give any negative impact তারা পড়তেও পারে আরো আছে অনেকে many so vocational training based on the deformity of the individual. I'll say deformity. Vocational training should be given based on deformity of the individual. Individual means I'm talking about the disability. Self-employment. I can do something and I can sell it. But it's going on. It is not the first time that I'm talking about this. I'm just aware. I'm just going to aware all of you, all the teachers, all the participants. Self-employment does not mean only for the disability though, because I'm talking about the intellectual and disability, but it is very self-employment. Very important. To do something, you got mainstream. Means they have to put the mainstream, not in a different discriminations. Research developing and improving the quality of life of people with disability. Oh, I see. Many NGO, POD and government sectors have shown their effort to detect disabilities early through physiotherapy. Okay. So I'm not going, this is to improve the quality life, to improve the quality of life. What of people of the disability. What is necessary? It is necessary effort to detect disability early. Oh, I see. Early time, earliest intervention, early time. Just immediate after bath, you find something is something. You find some different. So that is physiotherapy, is one of the speech language therapy, occupational therapy, infant, what is infant stimulations and parent counseling. Common, I think that your school, they're doing a lot of other schools also, school, college, university, community, they're doing. But I'm just going to aware all of you to focus on this. I think whenever Mr. Tapas Barman will raise something from this question. This is all related to the today's topic. So few questions, put this question because they have to answer how to cope with the situation. If I say how to develop the quality life of people with disability, they need in the primary level, what they need effort to early detection, early intervention, and physiotherapy, speech therapy, all these therapies to be there to be met. Okay. Okay, you see, if I'm going to explain, it will take whole the day. But anyway, I feel and felt this is very important. I think you are well aware, but always knowledge, don't think that knowledge is enough. We need to know from a very illiterate people also, we will find something different. What is that? Sustainability. This is said employed. I give someone a singer machine. Singer, not singer. This is sewing machine. Maybe or this is maybe electric. Maybe 6,000-7,000 taka. Someone she will develop her lifestyle. Normal, sustainable, and gradually their skill will be developed. They will do first at their home, then do. So this is very good thing, effective leadership. Yeah, I have to speak on this issue. What is the difference between leader and leadership? I'm not going to ask you because that will be clumsy. If you going to ask, you will say, because a lot of important issues I have to discuss. What is that? Leadership? What is the leader? Listen. And what is the effective? I might be leader, but not effective. I don't possess the quality of a leader, but I'm a leader. I don't possess all the qualities, at least main key components, key qualities I'm not possessing. So why should I lead? I claim myself leader. No, you're not a leader. You are leader, muscle, not a proper leadership. What is the leadership traits? Means characteristics, patience, opinion share, trustworthy, and trustworthy, and people, so that people communication skills, many things, but these are the few I spoke to you. Leader, effective, that is called effective. Partnership, you know the partnership, stakeholders, all the people are coming to work together. Partnership with role and responsibilities. Community ownership, it's very important. Ownership. Owner might be a group of people, but you are also owner. Without you, the program cannot run. So we have to take ownership. We have to think in that way. This is my company. This is my center. This CBR my center, because I am doing some work. I have some responsibilities. Not as an employee. You might be paid. You might be remunerated. It is a different issue because you have to run also your family. But you think in that way, without me, this will not run because I have this responsibility. So I'm the owner. I'm the partner. I'm the owner. So that owner means ownership. community ownership. Treat this as your own organization, as your own center. This is first. You love yourself. You think yourself first. If you finger someone, that will come. I don't know. You can you see my video? Suppose আমাকে দেখা যায় চলে আসলো কেন এটা একটা কি স্কিপ করে গেল নাকি হ্যাঁ হ্যালো তাপস কি সবাই কি আছে so what I say আমি যেটা I'm using that community ownership I'm using these local resources of course local resources is important local people community development sustainable should be encourage the local resources, local people, stakeholders. Cultural factors. It might be different from different area to area, culture difference. But consider, I'm in this community, but I'm not this culture. I've separated my own culture. So we have to consider, if you visit in Canada, because I was there, Montreal, that is in the station, in the bus station, I found 4, 5, 6 or 7 languages. There were also Bengali long before I was there. So because, and they also try to give their own culture to work together, building capacity. Of course, I spoke already. Financial support is the most important. Without finance, you cannot proceed a single. So what you will do might be, I will speak in later. Political support, local government, political administration, or the also most important. Without that support, mental, physical, financial, sometimes they will present MLA or what I say, Thana or police officers or the chairman or the some respected resource persons, honorable person, they might visit there, and that is also very important. Support, mental, physical. Oh my God, it is gone. No, my electricity is okay. Hello.
হ্যালো স্যার শোনা যাচ্ছে
হ্যাঁ শোনা যাচ্ছে না আচ্ছা একজন তাপস আপনি একটু লাইনে থাকবেন আমি তো আমার দেখলাম ঘরে কারেন্ট আছে বাইরেটা গেছে এনিওয়ে community based rehabilitations আমি এটা বললাম political support I'll go for the next slide okay community based rehabilitation plan and goals we have to do homework first if you want to say community in the community is a good center you have to want first plan to that plan, the strategic plan we call. Say I'm going to some places, say 5 kilometers, but there is a lot of traffic. My boss told me you go and talk to that person. You have 1 hour time. So what will be my plan? If I think I will go by bus, it will reach 2 hours. If I go, there is no train service, no other service. What I'll do, there is a tuk-tuk or something, maybe taxi or something like, or something, because that is most important to the financial package may be higher than the bus, maybe, but I can attend on time and discuss. That is most important than the few money which I expended more. That is a strategic plan. Effective plan should be goal oriented, realistic, and person centered as well. So I plan but no goal. We have to put goal. That is, we have to create a specific area, a specific purpose I'm going. and I have to reach in that way, not in this way and that way. So that is a plan. In every case, you need to have some strategic plan, and that should be goal oriented. Without goal, no, goal is one for everybody. In an organization, my goal is to develop, to take care of the disabled people. So everybody is same, but everybody's responsibility is different. When making plan for CBR, the preference of the person, gender, age, home, environment, socio-economic status have to be clearly considered. Very important. If I ask you what is your plan to for CBR, you have to write down, you have to consider these things. Person with gender, age, because one is 50, one is 18, one is teenager, one is infant. All different, male, female. So this should be considered. Actually, I'm coming from very, very, what I say, poor family, underprivileged status. You have to treat in a different home environment. I cannot even sleep at night altogether, very difficult. So all this should be considered to make a plan, effective plan, strategic plan. CBR action plan for people, it is okay. This includes, what are those to be included, to be considered? Handing over of agriculture equipment. Consider handing over of agriculture equipment based on the disability considerations. Official handing over a government property to the, I see this government case, government property that for disability, it depends on the government to government or country to country. But there is a scope, that should be, there definitely have some disabled already. Our previous speakers or lecturers, they spoke about this facility rules, and some rehabilitation officer, they also spoke, I found. Okay, dedication of disability severe vehicle. Yeah, you know, this is also discussed. Severe vehicle. Main of the severe plan is continuing. Main objectives which will be implemented during the 10 years life of the plan means certain time. So we have to fix up 10 years, 5 years, first 5-year plan. And maybe it doesn't mean 10 years, first 3-year plan, then this is this. Not 1-year plan, maybe 3 years. So love the plan. To reduce, to educate and increase awareness of severe community level. Awareness, educate and increase awareness. To feel as the owner of this, CBR project. To study coordination and participation in government knowledge. Okay, coordinations. As I told you earlier, that should be legal. Regular liaisoning with the government, NGOs. That is Thana level, all at the administrations and the political have to be maintained liaisoning. Just a minute, some call, I don't know. Hello? বলেন, আমি একটা আউটসাইডে ইয়ে করছি, প্লিজ এখন কল করেন না আমাকে, আই এম ভেরি বিজি।
ওকে স্যার।
Hello, sorry. Can you hear me now? Na? Suppose শুনতে পাচ্ছেন তো?
হ্যাঁ, শোনা যাচ্ছে স্যার।
আচ্ছা। To extended coordination, আচ্ছা, we have to, or you have to. So government level, all connection, liaisoning. I know Mr. Taposh and his team and other people also getting in touch with the local. I'm confident, but we cannot stop. This is the most important local. So identify, establish a rehabilitation center with capacity to provide quality service. Of course, gradually, that should improvement is, always remember these few words I speak to you. Improvement is a continual process. You cannot say, I'm improved, I'm highly educated, What do you mean by highly educated? One SLC, I mean secondary school student might know some point better than me. Even I am the postdoctoral. Doesn't make. It has no destinations. Learning has no destinations. Improvement has no destinations. Okay. Capacity building, quality service, identify through the data collection. Okay. How will understand what is that is somebody told yesterday also, this is my chapter in all the factories and others also. Performance indicator, evaluation sheet, analysis based on performance indicator. I think not mentioned here, but performance indicator means, so we have to put 10 points. So they will answer 5. That is called, it's a different, I think you know, but anyway, evaluation sheet is a different type, that is 5. Average, sorry, not good, good, very good, excellent, wonderful, like this. You have to put, that is called 5, 7. Likert invented this Likert scale in psychology. Those they are well about Likert scale. That is, you can put, oh, I see, 5. So that should be at least 70%, 80% mark every each month, or maybe if it is tough to do that, maybe quarterly. Anyway, indicator, evaluation sheet, that you are doing evaluation, I know. So that is okay for the center. You have to create also evaluation sheet, gradually improve. Collection of data, supports and others, seek employment for person with different academic level or ability or scope. Policy and requisite resource allocation to support severe. That's also agriculture activities, livestock. Okay, this is important. Everything is important. I'm talking about the severe plan, severe plans, goals, achievement, implementation. All these are practical. Agriculture activities, what is the livestock? It is very, it gives few livestock productions, forestry, nursery, aquaculture to improve the quality of PWD in achieving their individual ambitions. It is not a very hard job, but not for all the deformity people. You have to segregate in that way, which is best suited for them, which will be best suited for them. Them, I mean, for the people with disability, PWD. Ensure men and women, girls and boys with disability benefit quality from severe efforts across the country. To ensure men and women, girls and boys with disability benefit equally for their severe efforts across the country. I say not country, I will say community. Try to equalize according to their need. Equalize according to their need. What I need, you might need not that one. You give ladder stock, but you have given to her one sewing machine. You have given to him one wheelchair. You have given to one small computer. Gradually, she or he is educated. She is qualified, maybe different curriculum, but she knows, can speak, everything is fine, but disabled due to other intellectuality disabled. That is a different issue. You have to treat in that way. Gradually, speech. You need a speech therapist. Gradually. So you cannot do. It's very, in fact, you need government help. You need local people help, stakeholders, resource person to go and ask them, make a committee to visit, explain, honor them, bring them to a center. That's improving. Say sorry. Say I'm not acquainted with your center, but I can expend few money for this sort of development. But nobody can. You make a committee. 2, 3 girls, 2, 3 boys. Sorry, man and woman. Prepare a committee. and just note it. No, don't go for ask money. Sir, would you please visit our center and give me a date, time. We'll come and bring you to our center. Because center is Alipurduar, maybe somewhere. I'm not sure of what is black. From there, they might know well aware. But this is because money is one. We call money second God, but nowadays it's become very important. I will not discuss about this one. It's very important. Without Ishwarta, without money, what you will do? You cannot. You are dedicating yourself. The teachers are dedicating themselves, but they don't have the money to expend here, but have a money, but not no link with you. All the people, not only the community. You can bring other people from there. They can give 1 rupees. 1 rupees will give you the 100 people means 100 rupees. Nobody is going to pay you 1 rupees like this. So anyway, I'm just aware. No, you are doing this. Don't take personally. I'm suggesting no, you are doing. But awareness is very important always in your mind. The school authorities, the Swapno authorities. Okay, this is a committee. You will go every week. You will visit and give me the report. Give me the report where you visited, and sincerely, not for money. You ask, give me something, sir, to develop our school. Nobody will care for that. Honor them. Give him a cup of tea and biscuits. That will be enough. And bring your teachers there to discuss. Sir, you speak something. Always do in that way. This is do it in that way. Thereby, far away, I have no idea about the union or maybe distance, maybe the government, political, police personnel, everything. Just bring and make them honor. Give them honor. Blessings, they are coming also important. So ensure men, women, girls and boys and disability benefit equally from the severe efforts across the country. How will benefit? How will give the benefit? Government benefit may be limited, but people, stakeholders, not only the community, go far, because not that much school, special education in the area, a lot of schools, maybe 3, 4. You go far a bit away, bring them, sir, give them, then give it. No need to give them big dinner, lunch, something, give the biscuits and nicest way that he or she feels honored. Then automatically any function that will fund is the main thing. I tell you very frank, community based, because teachers and organizers, they cannot pay much money. They need also money because they're working for money. They need money to help. Without there also, if you don't pay proper salary or remuneration to the teachers, they cannot also deliver their work dedicatedly because they need also money. So how will get this money? There is no bank, there is no tree that will grow. You have to bring the resource person quarterly or monthly or something, bring and make a committee, senior people, junior people, mid-level people, move around across that area, not the community. They will give you. I told you, if you need 100 people in a month, you can raise also more. You give some workshop, you will make some, that is your thing. You make every time workshop, maybe 10,000 coming, that will give salary of a teacher. That will give a salary of someone. Workshop, seminar, conference, then like this, special education, diploma, you have maybe 2, 3 years, people might not be interested, but 2 times, short time, do it. These are the fundraising process. When I was in Canada in 1997, 98, in the morning, Sunday, when I opened my TV, they said, please don't spoil your money with tea and drink for Sunday. Give to this $1 even to this charity, CARE. CARE, you know, the CARE is India, CARE is Bangladesh also. I think, oh my God, that will be helpful for the hospital that we'll share. everyone is aware. Oh, I see. Yes, if I go and buy, have a cup of tea, $1. So $1 is this and that, $10. So I drink today, so I can say I'll hand over to this. This is psychological. Every time I found, yeah, I didn't saw a lot of things, many they announce. I'm trying to put now this time 5 from 5, 6, 6 from Nepal, including 6. They're all resource person. There might be speak, but please consider their slide. That might be tough to interact with them, but slide is very important. Also note down. They don't speak different language, a bit fast, a bit no verb, something might be not like this. But I found, I checked many important issues because they are from different. America is very big. So USA does not mean all. Yeah, one is Los Angeles, one is this and that. By who inspired? Taposh inspired to collect this. I mean, okay, they have the festival, they're very important internationally. So your college is now well known to USA because they taught me. Did it? I can bring 2-3 people from there. That will be already. Mr. Tapo told me I'll try to bring in as soon as possible to 3-4 people. They don't care for money. I mean, I don't need money. Just please come and student teachers, faculties, and the organizers. And now that this time, that's why there's maximum people. Oh, that is also, I can give a one. You see, these are small, what is the grocery shop? Small, but 2-3 families, 5 families, member can run this one. No, can get benefited, will be benefited. So how will you develop this one? So how will you get the money? We need stakeholders, all peoples as much as every month, every week. No need to explain for big biryani or so and so. Just some dishes, chana bhatori, 1 cup of tea, and you have to, they must understand big honor here. I think I have no idea about this, but I'm talking because we are doing this. I know. I'm just, this is the most important. That will sustainable. Continuous help to improve. Workshop, seminar, conference, also good. Something 2-3, 10 people from the highly resourced person. This is another is financial resource. Bring the financial resource people. Those are, they sometimes think no need, but if you give them honor, they will come. And somebody is the organizer, suppose will speak, this our planning. So, sir, for your presence, this and that, automatically. That is also education, sitting, just encouraging parents, maybe this might be the parents that discussing. Okay, they are discussing, and always think cultural difference might be. So not in one culture. That is called organizational behavior. Means this is also organization behavior coming from in. You see, America is not American. They are from different country, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, this and that. Canada also this. Only British, they are from the originally from there. So cultural difference. So you make them a generalized so that everybody can enjoy. Or you put some dances. I want to see. But please, because let me speak a few. I don't know what is the time now. Is it enough? No, I have time, 5-10 minutes. Now, সাপোজ আমার তো কিছু টাইম আছে মনে হয় এখন। Okay. Everybody's gone for lunch, I don't know. Okay. So what is the thing? So always make the center, make the school, make the community enjoyable, enjoy. They can enjoy their own community. Okay. So Tapos, I request to Tapos or organization team, any team member to switch on the unmute all the participants, but you have to.
হ্যাঁ স্যার, সবাইকে আনমিউট করে দেওয়া হয়েছে।
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
হ্যালো,
Hello. Hello.
হ্যাঁ বলি।
স্যার এখন কি লাঞ্চ ব্রেক হবে?
হ্যাঁ এখন লাঞ্চ ব্রেক হবে। হ্যাঁ
ওকে ওকে ওকে, তাহলে আমরা লিভ করে গেলাম।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ। Yes.
হ্যালো
হ্যাঁ হ্যালো।
Hello.
হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ স্যার, বলছিলাম এটা কি লাঞ্চ শুরু হবে?
হ্যাঁ এখন লাঞ্চ ব্রেক আবার 2টা থেকে শুরু হবে। হ্যাঁ
কটা শুরু হবে আগে বলুন। আবার 2টো থেকে? ঠিক আছে স্যার।
হ্যাঁ
বলছি আবার কটা শুরু হবে? 2:05?
দুটো।
ঠিক আছে, আচ্ছা তাহলে এখন লিভ করে যাবো?
হ্যাঁ লিভ করে দাও। হ্যাঁ
ঠিক আছে স্যার।
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
हाँ लंच हो गया।
हाँ अभी लास्ट ब्रेक है।
अच्छा सर 2 बजे फिर खुलेगा सर?
हाँ 2 बजे फिर चालू होगा। हाँ
ठीक है सर, ठीक है सर।
হ্যালো, তাপস স্যার কথা বলছেন?
হ্যাঁ বলেন, তাপস স্যার এখন নেই এখানে, তো একটু বলেন, বলতে পারেন।
কে বলছেন, আতাউল দা?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
বলছি আমি পাঠালাম, আমার এগুলো দেখলেন একটু চেষ্টা করে?
হ্যাঁ দেখেছি, আপনার পাসওয়ার্ডটা ভুল আছে তো, এটা ঠিক করতে হবে।
ও,
আমি পরে করতেছি। হ্যাঁ
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, একটু করে দেখেন কি হচ্ছে জানায়।
সময় তো শুরু হবে তো।
আমাদের ছুটি হলো স্যার?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ এখন লিভ করে নেন, 2টার সময় শুরু হবে।
ডিউটি আছে কালকে যাচ্ছি।
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
থ্যাংক
কিরে
ইউ।
নিডু?
হ্যাঁ নিচু।
হ্যাঁ লাঞ্চ করে নে,
হ্যাঁ করি।
2টো থেকে আরম্ভ হবে।
Thank you. We'll start again
থ্যাংক
at
ইউ
2
সো
o'clock.
মাচ স্যার।
Thank
স্যার
you.
गुड आफ्टरनून।
Good afternoon. कुछ आप
Okay,
लोग
bye.
को पता चला ना कि हम ऐसा बक किए इतना? आप लोग कुछ समझा तो मेरा बात ना क्या?
थोड़ा थोड़ा समझा।
थोड़ा आप लोग तो लिप अच्छा সবাই কেউ কিছু বোঝেন নাই কেন?
बिल्कुल साच बोला था सर।
আমরা সব শুনছি স্যার, আপনি খুব ভালো ছাত্রী স্যার, আমরা জ্বালাই না।
না জ্বালাবেন তো, জ্বালালেই তো আমি বলবো, আমাদের তো আমি অভিজ্ঞ, জ্বালাবেন তো।
স্যার আপনি খুব সুন্দর বললেন স্যার, খুব ভালো লেগেছে স্যার, আপনার ক্লাস খুব ভালো লাগলো। হ্যাঁ থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার, গুড বাই।
দিয়ে দিই, শুনেন আমি এটা দিয়ে দিই আপনাদেরকে, আমার মেল আইডিটা দিই।
আচ্ছা
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে
ঠিক
স্যার।
আছে, ওকে
স্যার ধন্যবাদ স্যার।
বাই।
লাঞ্চ করে নিন স্যার। হ্যাঁ
ওকে স্যার, প্লিজ গিভ ইউর মেল আইডি।
হ্যাঁ আমি মেল আইডি দিয়ে দিচ্ছি, তো আপনারা যাদের যা
স্যার আপনার স্টাডি মেটেরিয়ালটা পাওয়া যাবে তো আমাদের গ্রুপেতে?
হ্যাঁ আমরা গ্রুপ করে দিয়ে দিব।
আচ্ছা ওকে স্যার।
আমাদের তাপসদা কোনো কিছু বাদ রাখে না।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে না স্যার, প্রথম দিনেরটা পাইনি স্যার, প্রথম দিনের এইগুলো স্টাডি।
হ্যাঁ আমরা সব একদিনে দিয়ে দেবো।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে।
হ্যালো স্যার, তাপস স্যার আছেন?
তাপস স্যার এখানে নেই, বলতে পারেন, বলেন।
বলছি যে আমরা মানে পাস করেছি না কি করেছি প্রতিদিন তো এ করছি অ্যানসার দিচ্ছি তো একটু যদি
যারা ফেল
দিয়ে
করছে
দিতেন তাহলে ভালো হতো আর কি।
হ্যাঁ, যারা ফেল করছে তাদেরটাই আমরা শুধু ফেল লিখছি, যাদের নামটা লিখছে না তারা পাস করে গেছে।
ও তারা মানে তারা পাস করে গেছে, ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ।
তাদেরকে জানতে হচ্ছে।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ।
আচ্ছা আমি লিভ করে যাচ্ছি নাকি? ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ
আচ্ছা,
এভরিবডি।
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
Thank you. Bye bye. 2 o'clock we'll be meeting again. Okay, bye.
আমরা এখন মিটিং লিভ করে যাচ্ছি। হ্যাঁ।